Unpuzzled Parents Connect held a seminar for parents, caregivers, and advocates to learn more about how they can help their student with special needs. The seminar was held at the Resiliency Center and had guest speaker and special education boss Karen Mayer Cunningham teach the attendees about advocacy, rights, and special education. Karen also walked attendees through writing an IEP, or Individualized Education Program, to help their students be successful. She says it's important to give parents, caregivers, and advocates the tools they need to effectively advocate for their student.
Parenting is hard enough anyway. I always say that if my kids came with a manual, I must have left it at the hospital. But when kids have disabilities, that's an even higher load for parents to carry. And often parents go to school, just like I did when I had a child, and I just assumed that the school knew everything to do. I didn't understand my role and the importance of that role. And so this sort of brings it all together on what it was founded on 50 years ago.
Unpuzzled Parents Connect is a nonprofit organization that helps connect families to resources, education, trainings, workshops, and emotional support.